Ian and I continued our conversation about permaculture, its tools, principles, and applications.
Well, I'll go back to one of the tools that we started talking about, that energy flows, and then sectors and zones. Let's talk about sectors. Zones, I mean, because that's sort of the core idea. From 0 to 5, typically. Okay. And they're determined by how frequently you need to go there, or how frequently that area needs you to go there. So here we are in zone 1 is the house, the garage, and the barn, where the animals are. Zone 2 is the vegetable garden up there into the orchard. Okay. And zone 3 is the first half of the field, going back to the pond, straight south of us. And zone 4 is hay fields, pasture that'll be used less frequently. Okay. In zone 5, they always, even if you're doing permaculture in your apartment, always have a zone 5, which is a wilderness zone. I mean, it's your place for meditation, and in that case symbolic, but in my case on the farm, there's a bit of a bush at the back, and that just gets left for natural wildlife.
One of the things that came out of permaculture is the movement called Transition Towns Initiative. Out of the UK, started by Rob Hopkins, who was a permaculture instructor, and he used the principles to figure out how towns, urban settlements, can reduce their dependency on fossil fuels, transitioning from fossil fuel dependency to local resiliency. That's another principle of permaculture, is ecological systems are resilient. They have redundancy, they have multiple functions built in, performed by the same element, or multiple elements to perform the same function. So you have a robust system. We don't have that. You know, we have the big Walmart, big pipeline from China to supply all our needs. And if that fails, then what do we do next? We've not got resiliency.
People feel quite helpless. You know, they got to work in a cash economy. So we gave them tools that they could do in the backyard. So they're intimidated by gardening. Okay, fine. How do I get rid of my grass? And they think it's a big problem. It's not a big problem. Just cut it really short, and then and water it, and put cardboard down, or newspapers as a layer, which will decompose eventually and be worm food.
Oh, okay.
And then layer it over top of that with maybe dead leaves and some soil and maybe some compost if you have it. So you build up about 6 or 8 inches, and there's your garden bed. That's called sheet mulching or sheet composting. Instead of flushing all your water out into the sewer, especially from your gray water, from your wash things, how about using basins and change your soap so it's a biodegradable soap, not a detergent, and then you can use your gray water as irrigation water for at least your trees, if not your vegetables. And so there's all sorts of things.
Yeah, from very simple to pretty,
yeah.
Being a little complicated. So where can we go to learn more about permaculture?
Well, right off the top, in Canada, they could go to permaculturecanada.ca, and that'll give them links to a bunch of other the resources in permaculture. It's a good place to start. I use the permacultureactivist.net, Peter Bain and Keith Johnson. I've been going at it for 30 years, 20 years at least. They have also a list of books and resources. In terms of books, if one was trying to get started, I would say this is as place as any introduction to permaculture. It's the companion with the permaculture manual that Bill Mollison wrote quite a few years ago now. And then I would also, people who are trying to get more into the actual plants, Dave Jackie's book. There's 2 of them. The pack is called Edible Forest Gardens, Ecological Vision and Theory for Temperate Climate Permaculture. And what's great about this, he's got case studies in here, he's got how to design your space, your backyard. He uses his backyard as an example.
So in an urban setting, not just...
In an urban setting. And then he has some profiles of other forest gardens, and I like this, the Permaculture 100, the top 100 plants he thinks everybody can put in their backyard, like the American persimmon.
What? You could grow persimmons in your backyard?
Yeah.
I should do that.
Asian pears, and then it's broken down by size of plant, from full trees all the way to mosses and ground covers.
Based on how much space you have.
Yeah, and then one I like a lot is a website called agroforestry.co.uk, and Martin Crawford is profiled in Jackie's book as one of the master practitioners of of growing perennial food crops in
In the UK?
in the UK with a temperate climate, and he's cataloging a lot of what he's finding in from other sources as well, and publishes this quarterly. This title, Forest Garden Abundance. So that his website has tons of resources. Plus, you can subscribe to this.
But what about the future of permaculture? Will it ever take off?
Unfortunately, I don't see it or any of the solutions taking off. We are so addicted to a lifestyle of convenience and massive consumption that nothing is going to take off, but in the sense of some kind of explosive growth, until it's far too late. So I'm a pessimist, a forced optimist, along with our Canadian Thomas Homer Dixon, who's now setting up at University of Waterloo, who wrote The Upside of Down, who's one of his most famous books, but basically saying, look, we have not, permaculture will get you there, sure, but people have to decide that they really want to live a carbon footprint, an energy consumption, which is 1/10 of what they're used to. Well,
people are going to give that convenience.
That's not going to happen. No, the tools all exist. We know everything we need to know to live well within the earth means, or to live well within the earth means, but we're not going to do it. I think human nature is not that way predisposed. A few of us are trying, and maybe others will it'll get a small groundswell. If they have just picked permaculture and went with it, I think people would find their lifestyle quite enjoyable, quite sustainable, quite ecologically sound, and probably less expensive. Will they do it? Probably not.